Now we're continuing here on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis, in the middle of the Amud, and we got to V'Ozl V'Yosef Bereisha, and then Omar Rava. And the Rabbeinu Chanal explains that what this means when you talk about Baruch Hu as you a rosh and a goof, like any other creature, no, it means Meiniach es HaKeser. That's to be interpreted as Makabel all of Malchus. Like we say, Keser Yitnu Lecha. Omar Rava, Kol Shara Yechezkel Ra Yeshaya. It means that by Yeshaya it says Ve'era es Ado, and then it says Noi, Yoshev Rom Venisa. So he also saw the Kisei HaKavod. L'ma Yechezkel Tome, but there is a contrast between the Nevuah of Yechezkel and the Nevuah of, even though both of them saw the Kisei HaKavod. Because Lama Yechezkel Dome, you can compare Yechezkel to a Ben Kfar, Shara Samelech. How often would a villager see the king, face the king? It's very rare. And if he sees encounters the king, then he gets overwhelmed with a certain level of bahola and pachad, pilus. And Yechezkel was not rugged to see the Marakvod Hashem. And therefore, whenever he did see it, whenever he had experience, he writes the record of this Mara Ba'arichus in great detail. But Ulamayish in Ben Kra, a city person from the large urban center, he sees the king quite frequently, but he lives in the capital. But he's not mispoiled so much. And Yeshaya was so rugged to see the maros of Kod Hashem, therefore he didn't write in great length Barichus the entire Mara Shenigla Elu. Omer Shlach, which might be Chsid, we have in the Shira HaSayam, it's Oz Yeshua Hashem, Ki Ga'o Ga'ah, the double language of Ga'o Ga'ah. What does that mean? The answer is, it says, so they're a Geim, and then there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who is Misgael Agayim. He's above those who are proud, and will sing a praise to him. Amar Mar, one of the Chachamim said, Melech Shabbatayos Ari, the king of the animal kingdom is the lion. Melech Shabbatayos, amongst the behemoths, is the shor, the ox. The king of birds is Nesher, is the eagle. The Adam is God. The man is on top of all of them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is God Kul. And this is a reference to the Dmus of the four Dvarim that are engraved in the Kisei HaKavod. As the Gemara will explain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Miskal Kol HaOlam Kul. Kosev Echad Omer, Yechezkel says in his Mara, Udmus Me'em Shel Chayos HaMerkava, Dmus Achas Pnei Odom, Dmus Shniya Pnei Aryeh, El Hayamin, on the right side of man, Li Arba Atam. So we'll have to see what that means, Arba Atam. Upnei Shor Nimtza Me'asmol, on the left side of Dmus Adam, Li Arba Atam. Upnei Nesher L'Arba Atam. So we see that the highest in the Merkava are Adam, Aryeh, Shor, and Nesher. Now, when it says V'al Kol Ha'olam Kulo, that we saw in the previous Shemiskal Agayim, and the Merkava Chakukos Dmuyos Shal Arba Chayos Kol chai v'chai klula mikol arbos hadmuyos. So there are the images that are engraved of 4 chayos, and each one of the chayos includes all 4 images. Adam, Aryeh, Shor, V'Neshem. So that's what it means, v'arba. And the word chayos does not mean that they look like the Tmus of chayos, because we have Adam and Esher amongst them. But nevertheless, called chayos mishum shehem zrizos v'rotzo v'shu. V'shayach behem lo chayos. Tainu zoris. Ksiv, uksiv, and it says that you saw the arba'a panim li'echad, nei ha'echad nei ha'kruv, upnei ha'sheni nei adam, nei arya v'rvi nesh. Shor is mentioned. And instead of shor, it's kruv. So how do we explain that? Amrei Shlaki, originally it was a shor, but Yechezkel beat all of Rachman. And Yechezkel prayed to convert the shor into a crew, a fachal crew. And why? Because Omar Yechezkel the son of Ribbon Shalom, Agar Yasa, Agar, can the prosecutor become the defending personality? And the shor is reminiscent of Keita Eger. So we need that the Merkava be Mavakesh Olinu Rahamim. And how could it be that the shor would recommend good things for us when the shor is a zecher to the Keita? My crew, Omer Rabbi Avo Keravi, the face of a baby. She came to Bovel, Korim Linuka Ravia. Omali Rav Popol Abaye. Ilamei Ata, if you tell him that the shor was converted into a kruv, Tichsiv, how are you going to interpret the following passage? It says, Pnei Echad, Pnei Hasheni, Pnei Adam, Vash Pnei Aryeh, Baravi Pnei Nesher. So kruv and Adam are mentioned in this list of 4. Ido Pnei Kruv, Ido Pnei Adam. Now you've told me that the Pnei Shor was removed and replaced with Kruv. So why does the pasuk count Kruv and Adam? And the Gemara answers, Ape Ravre, Ape Zutri. So Abai tells Rav Papa that Adam and Kruv are 2 different panim shel Adam. Just that the word Adam is Adam Gadol, a mature man, and Kruv is Ape Zutri, is the face of a young child. Now the Gemara asks another steer. Kosev Echad Omer, in Ma'aseh Mekam of Yeshaya, it says, Srofim Om Demimal, B'samachlo, Sheish Knafayim, Sheish Knafayim Li'echad. So it means each one of the Srofim has Knafayim, again, wings. Kosev Echad Omer, but in Yechezkel, in the Maisa, or the Mara, I should say, of Merkava Yechezkel, it says, V'arba panim li'achas. V'arba knafayim li'achas. So we see that the have only 4 knafayim, not 6. Lo kasha, kan b'zman shebeis hamidrash kayim, kan b'zman she'ein beis hamidrash kayim. Kaviyachol, shenismatu, kanfei. So at the time of the Churban Habayis, say during the time that immediately preceded Korban Abayis, Yechezkel saw 4 knafayim. But Yeshayahu saw, when the Mikdash stood, 6 knafayim. And Kavyochel, or Kavayochel, means Mo Eitzel Mishata Yochel Lomar came. Now we have a sugya, which 2 knafayim were removed at the time, between the time of Yeshayahu and Yechezkel. According to one opinion, Amar Rav Hananel, Amar Rav, Osan, Umral Shira Bahen. The middle knafayim that are used for the flapping of the winds, in other words, to fly, those knafayim are the ones that recite Shira. They sing the praises to Hashem. And we're going to prove that in a second. And those knafayim with the Emtsoyos were removed. And the proof is because Yeshayahu, it says, so there are 2 knafayim that are used for the flying. And immediately in the next passage, it says, and those 2 are the ones that recite Shira. Those are the ones that they use for flying. Uksiv, and a pasuk, Hata'if einecha bo ve'einenu. Those that are ta'if, shema ofos, they fly. Those are the ones ve'einenu, that are no longer. And those are the 2 shenismatu b'hem, and no longer recite Shira. Now we have a second opinion. Rabbanan Amri, which were the time that were reduced, that were diminished, Osam Asut Ben Raglei, ones that cover the feet of the Chayos. And I'll prove it to you. Shenemar, it says in Yechezkel, for Ragleim, Regel Yishara. The Kaf Ragleim, Regel Egel. So Yechezkel is describing the Raglaim of the Chayos. The Ilav, the Imayim, that the 2 knafayim that covered the feet were diminished, were removed, is minor v'yadeh. How could Yechezkel know how to describe the Raglayim? I mean, they were covered by the knafayim. It must be that those knafayim were removed, and therefore the Raglayim were exposed, that Yechezkel could describe them. Umar rejects that by saying Dilma Ikali. It could be that at one moment in time there was a exposure to the Raglayim, and that's when Yechezkel saw them. So it wasn't that he saw them on a regular basis; he saw them like once fleetingly, as a coincidental experience. But it could be that there are two other knafayim that isma to. Now I'm going to prove to you that you have to say that at some point the knafayim moved in a way that what was behind the knafayim was exposed. I'm not going to agree that at some point it's possible that which is covered by the knafayim is exposed. How are you going to explain what it says later on in the pasuk, that the Navi here is describing the Pneim. If they're covered by Shtei Knafayim, how could he see them and describe them? And if you'll say, Inami di Mayit, that's not possible. There were only 2 Knafayim that was Nismatu. Now you have no choice but to say At some point, the face was exposed. Yisachanami here too, with regard to the Reglayim, will apply the yardstick. Diglali v'chazil. That at some particular moment in time, the knafayim, moved away or whatever you want to say, and then the Reglayim were exposed. Swearing says no. There's no comparison. And we can still prove that that there's a difference between the face and the feet. Bishlema with regard to the face that Yechezkel saw, the ape, the podim, is orach aretz, quite derech eretz. It's the proper behavior. When you're in the presence of your master, in this case Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the chayus would expose the faces to Hakadosh Baruch Hu, could possibly see. But the feet, lav orach aretz legluya kami rabbi. It's not derech eretz to reveal your feet in front of the Rav, in front of the master, in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, once again, if not for the fact that the ayim which covered the raglayim were diminished, it's not. How could it be that Yechezkel? There's no logical reason to assume that at any point in time the feet would have been exposed by the another stira. Kosev Echad Omer in Daniel, it says, Har Dinur. So we're going to learn about a so-called river called Dinur. Benofik Min Ktomayu. And it is a river of fire. And it passes in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Elef Alfin Yishamshune. And 1,000 thousands of Meshamshim and Rive Revavos Kodmoi Yikumun. Omdim Milafanov. These are the Meshamshim. So it seems that there is a definite number, a specific number of the Meshamshim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Either, on the other hand, Chosevech, another pasuk, Eov. So we're comparing Daniel to Eov. Hayesh mispar l'gdudov. Gdudov is a reference to the battalions of Meshamshim, and there's no mispar. It's endless. It's Lokash offers a number of different answers to this apparent concept. The answer is Khan, Bisman shebeis English Kaim, Khan, Bisman she'ein beis English. That when the Pasuk in Eov says that there's no mispar, it's impossible to count numbers for the person, Meshamshim, that's when the Mikdash stood. But Daniel, who counts the Meshamshim, he's talking Bisman Ein Beis English. Daniel was after the and Mata Pamalia Shalmal. That with the destruction of the Bayis, there was a diminishing in the heavenly battalions. And he quotes here in the note of Medrash that HaKadosh Baruch Hu at the time of the Churban is an Ovel. And an Ovel is Leos Yoshev V'Domen. He's silent, mute. As the Pasuk says in Eicha Eyeshem Badad V'Yidom. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the Malachim with Dibur, as we'll see on Daf Yud Daled. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, after the Churban, is in a state of mute, of silence, he doesn't speak, and obviously he's not creating Malachim. So that's called Nitzmat Maliyat Shalma. Tanya, we have another brisa, which will offer a different reconciliation. Rabbi Om Shemaba Yossi ben Tosai. When it says Elef Lafiv Yisham Shunei and it gives a definite number. Mispar Geduda Echad. It's only referring to one battalion of Mishamsh. But when the Pasuk says in Eov that there's no Mispar, L'Gedudav, as far as the numbers of battalions are concerned, these Gedudim ain't Mispar. There's no number. So there might be a definite number within each Gedud, but as far as the number of Gedudim are concerned, that's infinite. Rabbi Yirmiyah Abam, another answer. Elef Alfin, when it says in the Pasuk, a certain specific number of Mishamshim, that's the Mishamshim Linar Dinar, which are mentioned in that same Pasuk as we read it earlier. Shenemar Nahar Dinar Naged V'Nafak Min Kdomai Elef Alfin Yishamshune V'Rivi V'Ribo Rivivin Kodmoi Yikud. So these are the Misharsim, the Mishamshim of Nar Dinar. But as far as the Mishamshim in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, Ein Mispar L'Gedudav, that's endless. Now that we've mentioned the Nahar Dinar, that fiery river, Mehecha Nafik, where does it come from? And the Gemara, he say, Osan Shalach Chayos, from the day of the sweat of the Chayos. Lehechen Shafich, every river flows into some place. So where does this river of fire end up? Where's the fire end up? It pours onto the heads of the Rishoyim in Gehenna. Shenemar, now we're going to learn the Tochach of Yirmiyah and Navi because of their rituals. Ine saras Hashem ema yotzah, v'sar mischalel, arosh mishavim. So we have a description of the Chama, the sun, and the Sa'ara, the storm, that goes from Lifnei Hashem, and it ends Tochel arosh mishavim. And we're going to interpret this pasuk as referring to Nar Dina. Another explanation. Yaakov Omar, Al Asher Kumtu. It means that the original plan, the divine plan, was to create men, human beings, who will be self-flown nivru, but at the end, God decided not to create them. We'll try to explain why. So the Nardinar was nishpach on those that, because of the ultimate decree of God, were not created. Shenemar, it says in Eo, Asher kumtu lo eis, nar yutzak. Those that originally were decreed to be born, but at the end they weren't born, is the nar, meaning the nar dinar, is nitzok. Nitzok means nishpach alei. And the Gemara now quotes a Brisa to explain what's going on with it. Anya, Amar Rab Shimon HaChassid, Elu chameos v'shivim v'arba doros shekumtu libaros. So we have 974 generations that in the original divine decree were meant to come into create all these doros. And here we turn to Daf Yudalit. Kodem Shenivra. The original decree was before the creation of the world, but at the end, lo nivra. So what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? Amen HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Olam b'chol davar. He planted all these generations of people. Each generation, the hein azei ponim shebedah. These are the azei ponim, the chutzpahdik of people that are bold and brazen and rebel against God, and the Aish, the fire of this Nahar Dinar, would flow onto their heads. So apparently they do exist in some form, even though Akash Baruch Hu eventually created them, he would not create them. Now, in the note, the background of this derivation and this presentation of Rabbi Shimon HaChassid is the pasuk in Tehillim Kuf Davar Tziva Li'elef Dar. And in the Bereshit Rabbah, they darshan that the Torah was to be given after 1,000 generations subsequent to Bria. So from creation, we count 1,000 generations, during which time Dorach Hardod would be a process of Shizdachahu, of Zikuch, of purifying them until they be ready for Matan Torah. However, as it turns out, the world cannot exist. Zman Rav Kol Kach below Torah. We can't wait 1,000 generations. The world will not survive. So Ahmad Vehiktim Es Nesina Sator. He gave the Torah earlier, after 26 generations from creation. There were 10 generations from Adam to Noah, another 10 generations from Noah to Avram, and another 6 generations of Yitzchak, Yaakov, Levi, Kahas, Amram, Moshe. So if you see 26 from 1,000, you end up with 974. And those are the generations that never came into existence. From not by Yitzchak, Omar, Asher Kumtu, Velo Ace. It's not a reference to the and the fires of Nar Dinar falling, filling, flowing over their heads, but rather Librachos, the intention of the for a blessing. And what does Vasher Kumtu mean? Elu Talmidei Chacham shemekamtim atzman al divrei Torah v'olam hazeh. He translates mekamtim as makchishim umitzarin atzman. They deny themselves sleep. They wake up early to dedicate themselves to the study of Torah in this world. In the next world, God will reveal secrets, esoteric mysteries that'll be resolved. Shenemar, as it also continues, Nahar Yutzak Yisodom. He will reveal Yisodos, which are sodos, are secrets, like a Nahar Hanoveh V'lo Hefsek. So this is where we're going to stop here on top of Yudal Aleph. Amalei Shmuel Lechia Bara.